Hi, so today we want to talk about something called a proxy and why is it needed and why and where we implemented it in the whole VTTA suite and what are the ramifications of providing that proxy and what would be alternative solutions to the two main issues that I'm having with it, the way we're currently using it. So let's start first. What is a proxy? A proxy is basically instead of you making a request on a server to retrieve an image. This is your request and this is the response. And instead of you going directly to the server, you will need to go through a proxy because, like for example, the server might say you are requesting this resource. It could be anything really. It doesn't need to be an image, but you could request it, and then the server decides, well, who are you? Is this anonymous access? I don't allow that. So instead it will send an error code, for example 403, which means forbidden. And so the server is the entity that decides, do I want to respond to your request or not? And we are having some issues here because of something that is called CORS. This is not our enemy, because CORS in itself is something very useful because it makes your life in the internet, which is, to be honest, everyone wants your cash, your money, and your data. So the internet is a dangerous place, and CORS helps you to maintain your security. So basically, it's something that we want to have. But when we are downloading an image, like for example, this is a D&D Beyond web server, and you want to import a monster, and an image is stored here for your goblin. Then you will need to retrieve that image. So you are sending a request to the D&D Beyond web server. Please, let's load this image. And what's happening now, because it's not you making this request, it's basically, so this is not a person, this is not a web server, but it's a JavaScript running in your web page, in your Foundry VTT, which is basically just a web page. So this is a HTML page and it has some kind of JavaScript in it. And this JavaScript, so VTTA D&D Beyond, D&D Beyond, for example, makes this request. Let's load this image. Now what happens here on the server, there's something like CORS, as I said, so it basically stands for cross origin requests. Security, I don't know what the S stands for right now, but basically what it does is a cross origin. So this is, for example, your Foundry server is running on localhost, so your own computer, and it wants to access something on D&D Beyond.com. So this is cross origin. And then the server says, okay, if you want to download this resource, this is enabled for, and this is something the server specifies. He says, if you are coming from D&D Beyond, then you can access this resource. So if it's a web page on DDB and it contains this image, it can download it, that's okay. And otherwise, nah, you're not allowed. So it will just send back an error and you won't get access to this image. So your monster will be imported without an image. So let's try to solve this issue here, right? So let's try to delete this error here, and let's circumvent this CORS issue, because it's basically something your web browser is dealing with the D&D Beyond web server, and that means let's exclude your web server from this mechanism by using a proxy. So this request isn't going directly to the D&D Beyond web server. Instead, it goes to a proxy server. So this is a piece of software that I provide, and this is the request. And now this proxy makes its own request to the D&D Beyond server. Now this time it's not coming from an HTML, so here is no HTML page. It's just it's a script running, of course, but it's a program mainly. So this is some kind of web server itself, and it has a client, and it makes this request, and then there's no course happening because it's only protecting these web browsers from getting malicious data. But here we circumvent this issue by tunneling your request through another script, and then it will get the response. It's an image response, and this image is forwarded to you. You can import this image, and your monster goblin has a beautiful image attached. So what are the issues? So this is working fine. Bandwidth wise is a non-issue, so that's something that I don't have problems with providing. But there's two things that are really pain points, and which I want to address in the future, and I'll tell you which. Because I don't know where is this request coming from. It could be localhost. It could be you have your own domain, for example, like this, or my games, or the Forge. So these could be basically anything. So that means these requests here allowed from everywhere. Because I just cannot pinpoint it. So you could be using any server with any name on the internet, and in order to make this process, this workflow work, I cannot restrict this. So basically this connection is being allowed from anywhere. And I cannot restrict it either to just the D&D Beyond server, because you might be importing a character. And with Tokenizer, you can insert an URL. Please load this image from this URL. So this D&D Beyond server is not a fixed server in itself. It's variable. It could be any server. So we got all these servers, and those are valid request targets. That's the issue. So this is variable. This is a variable. So basically, what we are dealing with here is an open proxy that cannot restrict its usage in any way. You could be saying, where's the issue? If you're asking this question, then you are a very, very honest person, and you cannot even think about the ramification that an open proxy server could cause for the one who is providing this proxy server. Basically, you could be using it not from Foundry, but from any other service. And you could be using it to download images that legal enforcement could be very interested in. If they got to know, hey, over this proxy server, some weird traffic is going on. Let's ask the owner what is happening here. And I must answer, I have no idea. So that's not something I want to, that's not a situation I want to end up in. So we need to find solutions to this issue. The first and for me most simple solution would be that the Foundry server, which is basically a web server based on technology that I'm using too, would have some kind of proxy in itself. So when running your Foundry server, it would have its own proxy, which the script then can ask, and this can go to a server to retrieve the image or any other data. That would be the most easy solution for me, and it would put responsibility into your hands. It's your Foundry server. You are making the request to import a monster or character, so you will know what kind of data you are transferring over. The proxy that is running with Foundry server, so that would be super easy. Responsibility is in your hands, liability is in your hands too, and traffic, but that's a non-issue as I said before. So this is solution 1 within Foundry. I just talked to Atropos about it, about the possibility to add that, and he was a bit reluctant. He hasn't decided it yet. He doesn't want to circumvent the cause mechanism, which is a valid thought. Yeah, but it would be the easiest one and the most like from a responsibility domain. It would be the most. It would make sense the most to put it both in your hands. So you're running the Foundry server, you're running your own proxy, and no one else uses your proxy besides you. So that would be a complete package in my opinion. The second possibility would be to still use my proxy. So let's call it the VTTA proxy. So this is going here and here and back again. So that's the way it's implemented. VTTA provided. So that's the way it is right now, but now we need to add some measures of security. So for example, one thing I'm thinking of, if this is not happening, I could, like, for example, restrict access by an authentication layer. So you need to authenticate with a proxy. Hi, I'm the user, authentication. So you are providing your user by making a request which go into a log file. So if law enforcement comes and asks me who downloaded this kind of whatever, bump manual instructions, child porn, you name it, then I could answer that. It's not something that I really want, because in order to have user, you need to be registered in some kind of registration needs to happen. So this is in place already. But then I could just say, okay, this is tied to Patreon. So let's tie it to Patreon. So you need to be a patron in order to use the proxy, not the way I want to go. The third issue, disable URL download. So that would be the third option. So in order to import a character, or no, not really, in order to import a monster and get the image, you will just need to download the image yourself and upload it to Foundry server and then assign it to that actor. That's not very a great workflow, I guess. And if you import, it's not that much of an issue when importing characters, because you just import a character once, twice, but it's manageable. So you could ask your users to provide images and you upload them manual on your web server, on your Foundry server, sorry. So that's basically disabling this functionality from within Tokenizer, from within monster imports, and just make it stop working like that. And the fourth option would be you use your own proxy. Use your own. And this is basically, you need to run this kind of software part somewhere, and you can configure it in VTTA, D&D Beyond, and any other modules that will need to use a proxy to access stuff. So instead of hard coding the host name of this proxy, you would just insert your own proxy server. That would require you to run an additional application and make that happen. That's viable for people who are knowledgeable about running servers. It's rather a non-issue. For example, the VTTI character proxies on GitHub. So you can download it and run it on your own machine and then use this one instead of using mine. So this is already available and you could do it, but you need to know what to do. And I'm very reluctant to provide support for any issues that arise with people trying to do that and having really no idea what they are doing. So this is quite support intensive. And from this perspective, I'm not feeling very well with providing you with a proxy and say, deal with it. You need to implement that on your own. There's no support or help attached to it. So this is basically, these are the options that I not lean towards. This would be the easiest option, but the answer is still pending. And this is right now, if you ask me right now, I think this is the route that I will go to when thinking about the proxy and how to deal with it in the future. So I hope I could explain it to you. What is a proxy and why is it needed to for your games or for your imports, and what is it doing right now and what are my pain points with it, and how I can think of solutions to address these issues. So have a great new year. So it's the end of the year. So let's conclude this small session, this tech session, with the best wishes for the next year. I hope it will be better than this. And take care.